welcome to Raising Funds for World Domination, day number 294. Orthoplex 64, how's it going? So for today's update, there is once again no update on the pending appeal from the landlord. Yesterday, the last sponsored block type that was in the Shopify store, I sold that. Someone made a purchase on that, so I will get that added soon. And so because at that point I had I just found a new order type to add, so there's one more there. It's on my to-do list to go back, to double the number of amount of new blocks. Get like 8 of them ahead, but I have to actually look up the ore types. Right now I'm just going through types of clay. Last video was published just over a week ago. I did a small amount of work on the next video, and otherwise it's time to continue working on the terminal block mining simulation game. So today I will start up the debugger. No, 2. Yakush Studio says, hey, how's it going? MDE explains. X86 says hello. MKDR, Robert Elder Software Java Modules. So we'll use the version of IntelliJ that actually works. Which takes forever to start up on this old computer. I really need to invest in a new computer, but I kind of thought that YouTube revenue would pick up, or at least stay the same. But it has not been keeping up. Not too bad. Excellent. What about me? Slowly grinding away every day, making new videos, putting out content. The channel revenue is down quite a bit. I guess mainly due to the fact that I haven't published as many videos, so I'm going to try and just recycle some lower effort content. Every day I've been putting out a shorts video that's just clipped from the last long form video, and those are, I don't know, they get a couple thousand views. I like putting out stuff that's higher quality, but YouTube seems to reward lower quality and frequency. We will blind the computer. We will blind with will be blind with computer and logic one day. Well, will we bind? Is that a BL or BI? Can't see the font from here. By any possibility, are you married? I'm not married. For me, I'd be bothered to have a look at apartment fire every time I do that. I'd be bothered to, I think if that was a folder that came up there. I did a live stream of that, I think, a while ago. If you want to, actually, there's more detail. If you watch my if you watch the recent 2-hour long video I put out about the renovation fiasco, actually I put timestamps on that video too. So if you go to that, you can see the full details. Does IntelliJ better than VS? I'm not sure. I've only really used in the last 10 years or so. IntelliJ is the only IDE that I've really used. Before that, I used Eclipse for Java long ago, but VS, I guess the new one is Visual Studio Code. The last time I used Visual Studio was like, I remember I had a copy of Visual Studio Visual Studio 6, and then like Visual Studio 2003 and 2005. That was the last time I really used it. Did see it? Yeah, it did eventually get cleaned up, but it was like, I think the main thing was the water. There was just like puddles of water there. It took a while to clean up, or to dry up. Eclipse gave me Stockholm Syndrome years ago. Yeah, actually one of the main things that pushed me to use, I used Eclipse when I was a dev at Amazon, but all the work we did at Amazon was done in virtual machines because we need like standardized set of software and stuff, and it would always crash because our computers didn't have. We had like 4 gigs of memory, and we'd run out of memory. So then I switched to using Vim, and I would just do all my development in Vim, and I never had an out of memory crash again. And the other thing was to do our work, we had to like start and restart these large distributed systems in this virtual machine. So we had like, full copy of like multiple distributed services running locally to simulate stuff and test it. And it would literally take like half an hour or 45 minutes just to start the services, because they were meant to run on a production machine, but they're running locally. So then when it crashed, it would take 45 minutes to restart. So I'm like, nope, I'm going to do it all in Vim. The breakpoint's working. That's good. Still using VS since 2009. 4 gigs to run Eclipse plus the entire stack. Yeah, I think it was 4 gigs. I know it was it might have been a bit more than that. That seems low, but I do remember it was not enough, and so it, or maybe it was like 8 gigs or something. But I remember like thinking at the time, like they pay us thousands of dollars, like full-time salaries, like $100,000 a year at least, US. And we all have to use these garbage computers that have like barely any RAM. And so the amount of time that we waste with this. So what I eventually switched to doing was, my guess is they probably, it was probably like at that time even, they were behind schedule on upgrading, but I switched to I would just SSH into the VM and code in it that way. And the issue was because it was in a VM, we were coding in a VM. So the VM used memory, and then the services running in the VM used a ton of memory. And so what would happen was the host machine would just run out of memory, and then it would just it would kill the entire VM, and then you got to boot it up again, and it takes 45 minutes. One personal question: does AI will crash and bubble of AI will snap, or vice versa? Does AI will crash and bubble of AI will snap, or vice versa? You're asking if AI is a bubble? I think AI is definitely going to change the future. Right now it's kind of like the investment stage where there's massive amounts of money flowing into it, and that'll determine like some things. I mean, it's like if you have like 100 people that want to do a business, and you just give everyone $10,000 to start their business. You could say, is that a bubble? Yes, because they're not going to get $10,000 every year. What you do is just wait a year and see like who actually manages their business well. Some of the businesses fail, some of them do well, some of them grow, and the ones that grow, you just invest more money in those, and that'll happen with AI. Okay, so what I was doing was trying to figure out when this starts up why it is not unblocking this thread. Even if the bubble pops, tech giants will still keep dumping cash into their internal AI programs. Yeah, in my opinion. How did that not put a breakpoint? In my opinion, like with even just for AI generated art, like I would personally continue paying money for AI. It's worth it enough for me. But I guess a lot of the examples I now have out there. If you guys saw my last video, I have a lot of those AI generated images. And honestly, I'm very surprised at how I can like write up an elaborate scenario and then it actually generates something that it looks like it. It's really pretty crazy. And a lot of the graphics for that calculation, for the part about building houses, with the guy with the chainsaw and a 600 square foot house and stuff. Yeah, and like some of those, like I would do the calculations myself, and then I would ask the AI, like, give me a graphic, a transparent PNG graphic with this calculation in it. But I still had to check it a bunch of times because there were a few times where it would malform some of the characters. And I even had to go back a couple times because I would look at it and be like, wait a minute, I told it to put in this number or like the units, and it would misspell some of the words. Okay, so that did not break point where I thought it might. So the question is, why did that not break point? Okay, we're about to find out what happens. Source code does not match bytecode. Interesting. Guess that's because I need to recompile. But yeah, in terms of AI, so for any of you who watched the my last video about the Axel Heiberg base, so I had a bunch of those ideas, like the 80s Japanese vaporwave cafe, the rail kitty cat chambers, all that kind of stuff, and just as a stress test, I took I had like each of the prompts for those was maybe like I don't know, like 10 or 20 lines of description of that scenario. There's really like a lot that I specify in it. And for the graphic of the entire base of the like layered shell-like structure in the mountain, what I did is I had like an introductory paragraph where I said, give me like an engineering side view schematic of this elaborate layered shell base built into a mountain, and it has various floors consisting of the following. And then I said, like, I will give you the prompts in the following document. I will list the prompts that I gave for each of the rooms. Feel free to like omit certain details because you can't fit everything. And then I just copied and pasted the like very verbose prompts for the rooms. And that was where, and like, so the whole massive prompt was like really, really long. It was like, well, I don't know how many words would it be. It was like many hundreds of words, maybe like at least 1,000 words or something. And it contained like the inner individual prompts were formatted as the prompt for that like specific prompt that I already used for like the observation deck room or the royal kitty cat chambers and stuff. So I used those same prompts in the like zoomed in view and the zoomed out view. And that was an area where it was like, wow, this is really this is where it almost kind of feels like we're getting close to general AI, where I can put huge volumes of intricate detail and it can build like generalizing patterns and stuff. But the area where like I don't it amazes me sometimes how good it is at image generating, but then there's specific things where I'm extremely confused why it's so stupid. Like because it would get labels wrong a lot. Like for some of the rooms. Oh, for the Shenzhen market, there was a label for that was correct, and then so it generated. I actually generated many variants of it, and then took the best one, and then there was one of the labels it missed, so I asked it, added a label in the style of the other labels that just says like this one word, and it could not do that. I asked it, I spent like hours trying to get it to add a label in the style of the other ones. There was the one label that was missing. And then it kept adding, I was trying to get it to add a label by the plane that was flying in the sky. And it kept adding the label over top of the plane. And then it kept saying like beside it and under it, over it. And it would just always do it wrong, or it would like mess the text up. And then when it finally did it correctly, and I would explicitly say like, only do this, only add the label, don't touch anything else. And every single time it would regenerate the full image. So, and then it would garble the text, the existing text. So there's other things in the document that were fine that I wanted to keep. And it would, when the word Shenzhen market, it messed up the words on it. So then I had to do another prompt to like tell it to fix that. And I did that like 10 times, and it would keep regenerating the same image that was wrong. So it's I don't know how it's working internally, but it's really it's amazing and it's stubborn at the same time. Interesting. So it's trying to request the root dictionary, but it doesn't seem to do it. So does this never come back? Do you think it's possible to research under a prof with bad grades? So if you have bad grades, to research under a professor? Actually, when I graduated, I was looking for contract work. For like independent contract work, I actually asked my professors, and both of them actually suggested. I actually got two, like, I can't call them official offers, but like it sounded like, but basically what they wanted me to do was do grad school programs with them, and which I guess would be research. And they said, like, as part of that, you get to teach, and you get paid a little bit, but it's like you get paid 20 hours of work, but you work like all the time because it's like a grad program, which is kind of, some grad programs can be good, some are basically slave labor. Academia is very well. There's lots of YouTube videos of people complaining about their grad programs, so you can research what you're getting into. But I think it is, if you're actually like interested in the subject and motivated, you can probably make progress at it. If you're good at like networking and stuff. Depends how much the prof likes you. I'm an undergrad. Yeah, it's possible. I think a lot of academia don't know the prof. I would think it's like if you have bad grades, the relationship would be important. You don't have to be buddies, but you could definitely I think the prof would have to look at you and be like, okay, this person has original thoughts and is motivated. Because there are a certain type of student that can figure things out, but they don't. They sometimes don't turn in assignments and stuff, and where they spend too much time working on something that doesn't get them marks, and then there's students that do the opposite, that have no creative thought and that only focus on trying to pass or trying to guess. They spend a lot of time thinking about what questions the professor will have in the exam, so they get high marks. But yeah, it's not impossible. But if you have bad marks, that can be used as leverage to be like, nope, you're not good enough. You gotta try harder. Remember, did you play your game on Steam? No. I've actually never used Steam. I guess maybe in the future, if I can get some. I think if I could, there's probably a few things I want to have working better before I put it on there, but it's not impossible. Okay, what was I going to do? Oh yes, let's run it. And we'll breakpoint down to here. What is this doing? Okay, it's do work. Okay, should I put a breakpoint before? Which thread was I on? Not that one. Any programming projects you recommend for security-based SWE positions? Programming projects? I don't know. There's an infinite number of them. Security-based software engineering positions. There's isn't there some kind of like pen testing site that exists now? I think it's not Leak Code. There's some other kind of I can't remember what it is. I never used it, but I know it's like a common thing if you want to get into there's like challenges and stuff. Maybe someone knows what I'm talking about. And I think they have like leaderboards and stuff, and I guess you could also try bug bounties and stuff. Yeah, there's a lot of there's like capture the flag. I guess if you search for like capture the flag leaderboard things and stuff, there's all kinds of I've never tried them, but if I was getting into that, that's probably the first place I'd look. All right, I can't find the other thread where I was breakpointing through. Okay, this is in main 1 group. That makes sense. Main 1 group. Okay, now go to this. Okay, we got a breakpoint in there, and then I want to go back to this. Okay, it was just above, I guess. Okay, this is the message. To actually request the route. Okay, that's the player position request that's blocking. I'm confused. Okay, it is getting the opposite side. once I figure this out, it's going to have the dumbest root cause imaginable. Interesting. So it seems like it's not. It doesn't actually send out the requests. That's not supposed to happen. Oh, interesting. That's what's going on. So the problem is the chunk loading and unloading class starts off. It requests the player position, and it blocks on doing so. But this class is also responsible for sending the initial request to actually get to the root dictionary, which tells you where the player position information is. So there's a circular dependency, and basically threads block on each other and then do nothing. And that is the root cause of the problem. And it didn't show up before because I was allowing this condition, so it would before what it used to do is it would request it early. The player position would be null, and then it would just say okay, it would continue and do nothing. And then in the second pass, it would eventually, once it eventually figured out the player position, it would notify the thread because it's subscribed to that, which is why it blocked in the first place. And everything would be okay. But now, since I'm making it block, I've got to figure out a way to resolve this dependency. Takes through the problem. Maybe it'll help. I think I just did an intro of it. I think a quick fix is I can just on this message. So I send this message to the other thread, the client model thread, I send this message to ask about the state of the game. And since I just made it blocking, I guess I'll add an option to control whether it's blocking or not. Because technically this thread, it doesn't actually need it. Well, actually, that would also mean I would have to add in all these null pointer checks. Actually, not bad. Eventually, this has to be generalized anyway when I have multiple clients. Oh, I already have a null pointer check. Okay, it's already null save. Forget how to call a constructor. I forget how to call it a constructor so that it calls the other constructor, passes on arguments. This, okay, yeah. Actually, I think we may have had this conversation before. Okay, that should let me add the flag. should probably also fix this error eventually, because that's not supposed to be there. Okay, by default it will block. This is becoming a real mess. That's what you have to do to support blocking events between threads. All right, let's see what that does. Shosaki says, good evening. How's it going? I'm just on the, hopefully on the tail end of figuring out a deadlock issue. Okay, I think that's another debug thing I put in. Oh, yes. scary stuff on the tail end of being ill. And being ill sucks. But when you're not ill, that's awesome. It really makes you appreciate being healthy. Oh boy, that's a different error. Didn't expect that. I guess the timing of the startup is all different now. Should be good in a day or two. Nice. Are you pregnant? No, I am not pregnant. Oh, you're not asking the person in the chat? Thanks for confirming, no problem. Yes, it is very, very odd question among your many other odd statements. So that's initialized to null. I guess it's never been never been necessary to set it to anything different. Bot confirmed. Maybe the buffer never gets updated. Okay, that's probably it. Just because of the race condition, those sequence of startup operations didn't happen in that order before, so it wasn't initialized. Oh man, so close. Maybe it's because it's being initialized as an empty array. The future of streaming may be the only way to determine someone isn't bot. Honestly, I think it's already there. Like, you cannot. I've seen at least a few videos on YouTube now where I watched like a good 8 minutes of it, and I was like, wait a minute, these seem like this person is speaking a bit robotic or something, and they like. I guess the giveaways, they're like, it's like a talking head video. They're like talking to the camera and they don't really move their head around much. And then I look at their channel, and every video, their head is in like the exact same position. And they all like have perfect, it's like a lot of really complicated speech with only one take. Let's count carefully by letter. Strawberry. That's pretty good. But for the current wave of bots, that's even still on the level of something that I would expect ChatGPT to say these days. Just bought your 2000s era internet cafe sneak peek. Can't wait for the opening up. Thank you. I just need to raise a little bit more money for the plan. It's going to be very expensive to set all that up, but one day at a time. MDE, your comments, it's definitely, it's either a bot or it's a human very convincingly pretending to be a bot. We can never know. Okay, so in this case, I think that's why. So in the case, where the size doesn't change, oh, I guess that's why. Yeah, line 100. So it's trying to initialize it, but it can't. I guess I could just initialize it to 0. That's consistent. That was different startup behavior than I expected. Okay, I guess maybe the inventory's blocked. That might be what the problem was. All right, excellent. And this might block. Nope. Okay, I'll call that a victory for tonight. Okay, all of that was to fix a race condition on starting up the map area. And I guess that kind of general mechanism of letting the thread block on startup, that should mitigate them, should make things simpler in the future for when I want to start something up and then just have it block for when that object is available. Then we can avoid null checks and stuff. All right, that'll be it for tonight. We will be back tomorrow night for day 295. All right, have a good night, guys.